What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Liquid Trucking Podcast for episode 131. Thank you so much for joining us today and clicking that download button. It's very important to me, your host, Marcus. I am also joined here by my co-host, Amanda. And Amanda, today we are talking about a very specific state in the Union, one that I feel like is a little bit underrepresented when we talk about the Midwest, and that is the state of Iowa, only a stone's throw away from the liquid terminal there in Plattsmouth.
I'm not going to lie. I definitely pulled it up on the old Apple map this morning and was counting like how many states away I am because I didn't know. To be fair, I moved to Ohio like my senior year of high school, which is where I'm at now. 4 states away, if you count us, 2 states between us. I don't know, whatever, but it's like way over there. We're technically the first state of the Midwest, which a lot of people find hard to believe, but so I had to Google it. And the other thing I have to admit right off the bat is the only thing I ever really thought of when I thought of Iowa is Field of Dreams, which I guess is a good thing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if they hadn't have had so many cornfields out there, they never would have built it, and therefore no one would have ever come.
Exactly.
I will say this. In my time out in Iowa, I bebopped around a little bit. We kind of did a big swing through, got to drive through it. Like I said, I feel like it's underappreciated. It's beautiful out there. The whole Midwest really is, and beautiful from a different perspective. I've looked at mountains my whole life and thought beautiful, and I got out there and it was a little bit jarring that there was just no mountains. Like the elevation out there just goes and goes and goes. But I'll tell you, all I could think about as we drove through is, God, the deer hunting here must be amazing.
Man, listen, they have to, in the Midwest, contract people to help keep the deer population down. So they will give a certain amount, but they want you to go into the more metropolitan areas and help them take care of the deer problem. So yeah, you know what? You're welcome to come stay over here. You want to come check out the hunting this way.
Well, it's getting a little bit worse out in the Pacific Northwest here. We're messing with some whitetails kind of taking over the mule deer population. And the one difference in whitetail and mule deer where I hunt is mule deer will let you walk right up to them and feed them a sugar cube. They do not give a shit. And whitetail, if they're within 300 yards of you, they're running to get 400, 500, 600 yards away from you. So it's always been a bit more complicated, and our success rate has dropped significantly over the last, 5-10 years, I would say. But they don't seem to have any problem with that out there. Big whitetails running around all through the Midwest. And, we've had a couple drivers come on here and talk about it. Sometimes I wish, because I've been given permission by some farmers before, this one, I'll tell you this story. We were out duck hunting in a farmer's field one time, and he'd given us permission to be out there. And he came out and met my dad, and he said, hey, please don't kill any of the pheasants. Those are what I hunt, and I want you guys to leave those out there for me. We said, no problem. We're just hunting the waterfowl today. He goes, however, if you see any red-tailed hawks, be sure to blast those out of the sky because they're hurting the pheasant population. I was like, I feel like you just told me to commit a felony.
Right.
And just because I'm on your property doesn't mean that I'm going to lose my hunting privileges forever to clean up. But I get it when it's deer or something like that that's actually legal to hunt, So
it's like the hunting godfather. He says, someday I'm going to ask you for a favor, Marcus.
Right. And I pull up in an old Cadillac and open the trunk, and there's just a dead hawk in there. Like, he's swimming with the fishes now, Harry. Something like that. But
the tiniest little cement shoes we've ever seen.
I do want to go on record and say I've never even so much as pointed a gun at a hawk as a mistake. That was a hard no for my dad and I, but I digress here. I have a ton of Iowa facts and stats because, as I said, I felt like it was kind of an underappreciated state out there in the Midwest, and we're here to talk about it today. And the point today is we're looking for drivers out of the state of Iowa right now at Liquid Trucking. And if you are listening to this and thinking about, hey, maybe I could start yanking tanks, well, Liquid's a great place for you to be. And here in just a few minutes, we're going to bring on 3 drivers that are based out of Iowa. One of them that's been with the company for almost 30 years. You guys know him well. That's our guy, Polar Bear. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a liquid trucking driver based in Iowa, and hopefully give some of those curious ears out there some reason to want to come and check out Liquid. Of course, the market is turning around right now, and Liquid needs drivers, so definitely tune in here. But for those of you not from Iowa, let's talk a little bit about Iowa as a state. Over 115,000 miles of roadway in that little tiny state. I never would have guessed that. It's not a big state as far as like land mass is concerned, and 115,000 miles of roadway seems like a lot, but what you realize is it's kind of in this perfect crosshair because I-80, I-35, and I-29 all kind of intersect there in Iowa, so it's a fantastic state when it comes to truck driving, Amanda.
It sounds like it, and now I'm realizing how traumatic the discussion of deer in that state while driving might have been. Yeah,
Yes.
I should have held
Animal
on to that
strikes.
one.
Animal strikes are huge out there in the Midwest, and that's why you see a lot of trucks going around with they call them grill guards. That's the official name. Where I'm from, where the necks tint a little bit more red than what you see in the metropolitan areas of Oregon. We always called them Bambi bashers for a reason. So, but that's why you got a grill guard on there, because a deer can cause a lot of damage, but those grill guards do a great job of keeping that from, damaging the undercarriage, damaging the engine, radiator, everything like that's right up front. So, but yeah, animal strikes huge. You know what else is huge in Iowa? Wind farming. In fact, let me find it here because I just lost it. This is what happens when I get too crazy with my research. I have so many facts right now about Iowa that here it is. Iowa leads the nation in wind-generated electricity percentage. Wind supplied nearly 63% of all the state's electricity back in 2024. That's pretty wild when you think about it, but hey, like we said, there's no mountains and there's plenty of wind, so great state to have big wind farms in, right?
Dude, imagine if you and I moved there. We could like triple that with all the hot air we'd be spewing. It'd be crazy.
I know. Just
they'd have to cut us in.
Yeah, right. Iowa has more than 13,000 megawatts of wind capacity installed. It's crazy. And, if you're not a geography buff, you might not know that Iowa is bordered by both the Mississippi and the Missouri River. Kind of bookended there. And the Missouri River Valley is amazing to me. When we were driving through Iowa, our boss for the company we work for, Grant, pointed at, 500 miles off one way, and he said, "Do you see that kind of ledge of land over there?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he looked out the other side of the car, and he pointed like another 500 miles away, because you can see forever.
That's crazy.
And he said, "There's the other ledge out there." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That is the original Missouri River Valley. Like, that's where the river cut through. That's how big the river was initially."
That's crazy.
It was wild, because it's the only, geography that you can see, and it's just way out there in the distance, and you think, I am driving through what used to be the very bottom of a gigantic river. It's really cool. And like I said, it's just different from what I know. You guys out there in the Midwest, you're used to it. But for me, very flat.
I'm wondering if there's some dinosaur bones to be found in an area like that. I mean, there's got to be some sort of fossil findage,
Yeah.
That sounds so crazy.
Yeah, especially with, all the melt runoff and everything from up north and basically, I would assume probably all the way down into where you're at. I know Michigan for sure was covered in ice at some point in time. I would assume that ice shelf came all the way down. I love geography. I didn't pay attention that much in class. I'm not going to lie. That's why I'm a podcaster for a living and not out there with a pen and a clipboard. But we would be remiss if we didn't say the one thing that everybody's waiting for us to say about Iowa, which is a stat about the corn production in Iowa. Yeah,
please. And how many children are in that?
Yeah, I more than you want to know, because these cornfields go on forever and they're tall. I could totally understand why that movie came about, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I was walking through and just a pioneer child walked out of the cornfield, I would run all the way to Texas. I'm not kidding you right now.
You said, are those pilgrim shoes? No.
But I want to ask you, take a guess here. Roughly, how many million acres of corn do you think Iowa produces or grows annually?
How many million acres? This is hard. So you said there's 115,000 miles?
Of roadway.
Of
though, and
roadway,
that
right.
can turn and twist, so
Right.
that's
Okay.
deceiving.
All right. So how many million acres? I'm going to say, God, I really want you to cheat and tell me if it's like single digit, double digit. Is it single digit?
No.
It's not? Okay.
No.
How about let's 26 million.
Hey, you were actually doubled it up, 13.1 million, so not bad. You're giving Iowa a lot of credit, and they deserve it. I think that's a pretty good guess.
Thank you.
You had no frame of reference whatsoever.
Right,
I'm like,
exactly.
hey, how many square feet big is Iowa? Guess, and you just have to pull a number out. But around 52% of that corn goes to ethanol production, as Iowa is the nation's largest ethanol producer. And you might be deceived by the fact that Nebraska calls their school the Cornhuskers, because Iowa is the nation's leader in corn production, more production than any other state in America. And, I feel like corn, sort of like Iowa, is a little bit underappreciated for all of the things that it goes in, right? I mean, we use corn for so much. Most notably, my beloved corn syrup. Couldn't live without that stuff, especially around the holidays, man. I found that when I get to doing my holiday baking, I get excited about it. It's like, oh, this is why I have corn syrup in the cupboard, because everything for the holidays requires a cup of corn syrup, which is why it's so good.
I gotta say, shout out to that little kid that brought corn to the forefront for a brief period of time with his "I Love Corn."
Yeah, that was so good. That song was like the song "Blue." I'm blue. It's got stuck in my head for like months. Couldn't get it out. Iowa's soil is considered some of the richest farmland on earth. The agriculture economy has been powered by corn for over 150 years, and Iowa is also one of the top pork-producing states in America. And 1 in 8 Iowa households heats with propane, which is nearly triple the national average. I find all this stuff very, very interesting, and you kind of understand why. Liquid's looking for some guys out of Iowa, because one thing about Iowa, they tend to produce hardworking, honest people. And I know that. I mean, like I said, we've talked to Polar Bear how many hundreds of times on this podcast already. If you don't get hardworking and honest out of that guy, I don't know what you're listening to at this point, Amanda.
Dude, maybe it's in the corn, right? Like if you grow up there and you eat the corn, like you turn into an amazing human being.
One last quote I'll leave you with before we get our drivers in here to talk a little bit about their experience that I found doing my research was just a comment that somebody had left on a post, and it said the smell of rain hitting Iowa farmland is basically Midwest cologne. And, I don't know about you. I love the smell of it when it rains. And, I could definitely see that. But lots of weather out there, too. Blizzards, crosswinds, lots of farm equipment traffic. Listen, we never said this job was easy, but we're going to bring 3 guys in here to tell you about what it's like to wear the Liquid Trucking brand and be based out of Iowa. So let's get them in here right now.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, Amanda, it's time to get our drivers in here today. We got 3 of them, a ton of experience on the line right now, and guys that can really tell you what it's like to drive for Liquid while living in the great state of Iowa. So let's bring them in right now. First and foremost, we're going to welcome back to the show one of our series regulars for sure. He's been on this show more than just about anybody else at this point, and we love it every time we get to spend some time with him. Please welcome back to the show, Polar Bear. Polar Bear, thanks for being here, my friend.
Hi, Marcus. Yeah, like I always say, I'm glad to be on here and give any little useless knowledge I have somebody.
Well, we appreciate
water cooler
it.
Talk, I call it.
Yeah, exactly, man. We appreciate you joining us at the water cooler every time. And real quick, I know we've established this very well on this show, but given what we're talking about today, I want to go ahead and reestablish with all 3 of you drivers. Give us the big number, Polar Bear. How long you been driving for Liquid?
25 years as of April of this year.
25 years, man. That's amazing. And have you been living in Iowa that entire time?
I'm born and raised in Iowa.
Born
The
and
only thing
raised.
I really left was the military. Till I went to the military and went to Alabama for my training, I had never really been out of Iowa.
Okay, so lots of experience behind the wheel, lots of experience with Iowa. That's exactly why you're here today, my friend.
On the ground, and
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Polar Bear. Let's welcome our other two drivers in here as well. We've got Wendell Walker on the phone. Wendell, thank you so much for your time, my friend. How's it going out there today?
I'm just on my way home for the long weekend. Not going to be able to long weekend at home after all. I just found out I got to work Sunday, so it is what it is.
Rats, man. But you got to make that paycheck, right?
All right, I know. Her mama's not happy. I got to keep her happy.
Yeah, you got to keep her happy, man. You know that for sure. Now, Wendell, how long have you been driving for Liquid?
Been driving for Liquid 14 months.
14 months. And have you been, obviously, I would say you probably haven't moved in the last 14 months, but how long have you lived in Iowa?
3 years.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, you've got some.
We come out of California. I spent 59 years in California. We discussed it last time I was on. California's not the same state I grew up in.
Okay. So if one thing's for sure, you got a really good idea of how not to do it, is what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's right. So I didn't bring my stuff from California into Iowa.
Good.
The reason I moved to Iowa because it wasn't like California.
Well, you got the polar opposite there, man, and I understand. Being a West Coaster myself, lots and lots of red tape down there in California, and for truck drivers especially, that can cause headaches, and we don't see nearly as much of that out in Iowa, do we?
No. No. We get more comfort for the weather than we do the politics.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, Wendell, thank you so much for joining us today. Our third driver joining us here, also somebody that's been on the show before, and we're always glad to have him back. It's Tim Spencer joining us on the line. Tim, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. Getting loaded.
Getting loaded, and they're doing the hard work for you this time, so you're just kicking back and chatting with us, right?
Absolutely.
That means
Awesome,
something
man.
wholly different for us if you're like, what are you guys doing? Getting loaded.
Yeah, getting loaded, right. That actually could be a really fun episode if you think about it.
That's stuck to the tape, yeah.
That was the 80s.
I'll see if I can get that one past the the powers that be. I don't know if they're going to let us do it, but it's worth asking.
You bring that one up about the 80s.
Tim, real quick, man, how long you been driving for Liquid?
Almost 18 years.
18 years there. Wow, I think that deserves a round of applause as well. Long time. And have you lived in Iowa the entire time that you've been employed with Liquid over those 18 years?
Yes. Yep. I've lived in Iowa pretty much all my life except for the military.
Okay, so same thing as Polar Bear there. So, Tim, let's just keep it right here with you and jump right in with both feet here. What do you think makes Iowa drivers fit Liquid trucking well? With all your experience living there for as long as you have, the reason I ask this question is some people don't understand that you can kind of throw a rock from the Plattsmouth terminal and hit Iowa. It's not that far away, but talk to me, Tim, about why Iowa drivers fit with Liquid so well, in your opinion.
I lived in northwest Iowa for a while, and Bartow, Sioux City, not too far away. So there's always loads. Then I lived in Des Moines, and that's not too far. It's always been easy to get me home, and I live in Boone. And
okay, so you're out of Boone there.
Yep.
Got it. Sorry, I cut you off. Please continue.
Oh no, I don't think I have got anything else.
It's worked for you, though, is what I hear. You got your loads. That's obviously A1 in concern when we talk about truck drivers. You talked about Bartow being out there, South Sioux City, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's always someplace close is why it works out so well for Iowa drivers. Polar Bear, I'm curious, for you, same question. What do you think makes Iowa drivers fit liquid trucking well?
Well, like I always say, I go back in the day, and I think that's kind of how we all got hired on here. It's, both Roger and Mike, and, they all have a farming background, and it's kind of, not that you had to have a farming background, but you kind of know your way around machinery, how to hook up the jack pressures, and just something goes on, you can maybe look at the truck, maybe look at the trailer, say, hey, I can fix this. I don't keep a toolbox full of tools on me, but I got enough to get in trouble.
Yeah, there you go. A roll of duct tape and a pack of bubble gum, right?
Real MacGyver.
How'd you know? You've been in my truck. Dang it, Marcus.
Yeah, I know you better than you think, man. We spent a lot of hours talking on this show.
Sure have, haven't we?
Yeah. Amanda, back before you joined the show, we actually had an episode called MacGyver Bubblegum and Duct Tape.
I love that.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great hearing some of the stories because we actually did have drivers on that have fixed things with bubble gum and duct tape and made it work to where they could get to where they go. So that's just lore of the Liquid Trucking Podcast for you, Amanda.
Listen, the phrase "get her done" came from somewhere, and sometimes you just gotta get her done. Okay.
Yep.
And guess where he's from? Yeah,
Iowa.
From Pawnee City, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Pawnee City,
Okay.
Nebraska.
Okay.
Yep.
Close enough, right? It's kind of
close
one and the
enough.
same. Now, here's something I'll ask real quick, Polar Bear. Is there a friendly rivalry between Iowa and Nebraska as states? I look at Oregon and Washington, and it's like Seattle would tell you that Portland's its little brother, and they kind of they want to beat up on Portland, but at the same time, they're going to look out for Portland if anybody starts talking crap from California, right? So is there kind of a similar dichotomy between Nebraska and Iowa?
I think there is, because for one thing, when they put all the casinos in Iowa, Nebraska is wanting to come across and join all of our money. So I think that's really the only thing in the business that's so close to each other.
Yeah.
Except for the river, you can't tell, which is most places. That's kind of what they've always known. Especially like Western Council Bluffs has always been known as Little Omaha, because just one road connects you to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. As far as businesses wise, I'm going to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was funny. The first time I was in Nebraska, I was in Omaha, and all of a sudden I was in Council Bluffs, and I was like, wait a second, I thought that was Iowa. Yeah, you cross the river, bro, you're in a different state. And it was just kind of eye-opening because it didn't really seem like much changed. The zip code, really, more than anything.
That's it, yeah. And it's not like you're going from, let's say 2 million in Omaha. I don't think it's that big. And then let's say Omaha's not like 5,000 people, Council Bluffs, it's up there too. So you got two major bordering cities.
Yep. Now, let me ask you this before we move on to Wendell here. Who's big brother and who's little brother in that relationship?
I don't know. I'm going to say Nebraska's the big brother just because they're bigger.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Once again, I guess too many times my stepdad always told me to keep my nose on my own, so I just don't deal with, I'm not into politics, all that. I don't know the ins and outs of what makes each one tick, I guess you'd say, if that's the word. I just stay back, do my thing, and
keep it between the mayonnaise and the mustard, right?
That's 100% it. Stay out of the stickiness.
Well, Polar Bear, you know now I'm sadly, unfortunately, a Browns fan, a Cleveland fan, and by way of living in Ohio, I have to be an Ohio State fan. We have the most unjustifiable rivalries with states, like why, or cities in particular, like Pittsburgh. The Steelers are so much better than us. Why do we have a rivalry? Totally unjustified. Same thing with the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why we do it to ourselves.
Once again, I think it comes to sports, either NFL, hockey, which the big rivalry there is, like I said, we don't have any pro teams, but we got 3 college teams in Iowa.
Yep.
And 2 are major,
Absolutely. And Iowa football, if we're going to talk about it for just a second, that's some real salt of the earth football. A lot like the guys that we're talking about that know how to, fix things. It's half the time I feel like if an Iowa player got injured and they pulled the ambulance out on the field and it broke down, the middle linebacker would have that thing up and running in 15 minutes, no question. No question in my mind.
Yeah.
Let's go to Wendell here. Wendell, also an Iowa resident, man. What can you offer us? Why do you think Iowa fits liquid trucking so well in your experience?
Location comes to mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we pull, we load, we take out of the state road here comes from Iowa and Nebraska. So it's all about location. I live on the eastern side of Iowa in Clinton, and there's always stuff to do, even when I'm on my way home or when I'm getting ready to leave. It's all about location. With all the crops, with all the soy, with all the stuff that we pull, a lot of it comes out of Iowa.
Yep, absolutely. The largest corn-producing state in the country. Also, you guys are responsible because of that corn crop for most of the ethanol that supplies the country as well. And everybody thinks Nebraska and they think corn, but really Iowa is the one pumping it out. And you got to look at that as just commodities. There's very rich soil out there in Iowa. You guys got great weather for farming. And as I said in the open when Amanda and I were talking about it, the deer hunting is just wild out there. Are any of you guys, are you a deer hunter, Wendell? Do you take advantage?
I'm moving that direction. I just started hunting pheasants this past year. Doves this last season. And we're starting to move that direction. Coming out of California, I had opportunities, but not like I do right.
All right, fellas. Well, that's great. I really like hearing from your perspective why it works for you, because that's really what we're trying to do here. I know that right now there's some Iowa-based drivers that are thinking about either leaving the company they're with or they've got a CDL, they've got experience, and they're looking for a new home. And hearing what it's like for you guys, the three of you just said location. You've always got loads. Bartow's out there. And generally, Iowa cranks out some real hardworking people that are going to mesh well with this job. Polar Bear, you mentioned the farming aspect of it and how a lot of blue-collar workers come out of the state of Iowa just by virtue of the fact that they grew up farming. Can you talk a little bit more? You talked about, knowing how to hook some things up, but tell me a little bit about what you came into trucking with as far as the knowledge that you gained when you were out there working on the farm or just working the land as a kid. Was there things that were just kind of inherently known to you that really clicked when you started working for Liquid 25 years back?
I guess the thing about it is my stepdad and I, we did pretty much everything together. So when we would go in the fall, I've always wanted to be a truck driver. So I've always been where the trucks are. So when I first tried to, get a job, which they wouldn't take me, I'm glad. And then, I just kind of kept playing the field. And then, I put in the application here and they want to pull Liquid. Back in the day, it's like two things to stay away from. Guess what? I got $7,000 hanging over my neck on a school now. I got to do something. That kind of helped me knowing, once you we used to fill up our water sprayer barrel all the time. You put it in there and you pull the hydrant up and hours and a half, your water's full so we could mix the chemicals. So once again, that kind of helped me to keep my mind that got that water going in the barrel now. Don't go horse around somewhere, go out ride the motorcycle and come back 3 hours later, with 1,000 gallons of water on the ground, not where it's supposed to be. So I think that's what kind of helped me.
That sounds like a lesson you learned the hard way, Polar Bear.
I'm not going to, ask me no questions. I tell you no lies.
Yes, sir. Hey, Tim, going back to you, man, real quick. Did you have any of that farming experience as a kid that sort of lent itself to the job you're doing now?
I've worked on chicken farms, I've worked on hog farms, and, it's just about whatever it takes to get the job done, even if you don't have the right tools. You just figure it out.
That's that Iowa mindset, Amanda, right there. It's just whatever it takes to get the job done. I don't know if I've actually heard a better sentence to describe the people that I've met from Iowa at this point in time, because you guys are resilient out there. I mean, look, the wind that you've got, we talked about it in the open. You guys are also responsible for a bunch of wind power out there. I mean, the weather, Tim, does it leave a little bit to be desired out there in Iowa, or do you like the weather patterns that you get?
I like the weather patterns.
Yeah.
Especially springtime. With all the beautiful thunderstorms, and I've got a roof, so I can hear that rain, pinging off the roof. I like it, and I'm more of cold weather. So I love the snow. I love when it's real cold. I don't like the summers, and it's hot, and but it's only for a month or two, and then it cools back down, and you got fall again. So it's better than we go down to Texas in October, and it's still 90, 100 degrees down there.
Yep, and drier than a popcorn fart too. Let's not forget that. Now, I will say this. Amanda was, I can see Amanda here. You guys can't. She was giving you the thumbs down when you were talking about liking the cold, but that's the Ohio in you, right, Amanda? Those winters are brutal.
There's that. You have to think about the places I've lived in my lifetime. I grew up in New England, so that's fun winter. I am, Northeast Ohio, so we get that lake effect snow coming off of Lake Erie because I'm up in the north. I lived in Wyoming.
Oh, God.
And then Oregon, we had to have chains on our tires for certain parts of the year. So I don't think it's so much that I hate the cold. So maybe it's just the effort that you have to put into life when it is cold and snowy. I don't know. But I do strongly agree on the thunderstorms. I absolutely love a spring thunderstorm.
Yeah, we get them back where I grew up in Enterprise, Oregon. We would get them in the mountains in the late summer, and it would be like we'd be out on the lake all day, and it would be no clouds in the sky, and you'd look up, and there's just this thunderhead above the mountain, and be like, pack the boat up. We're all going to get struck by lightning if we don't leave. And then we leave, and I go back to my house, the safety of, 12 miles away as the crow flies, and watch fires start all over the place, and then get rained out. It's a very interesting thing. I can totally understand why people love the thunderstorms. And out there in the flatlands, like in Iowa, where we're talking about, you might have a little bit more warning than I got out there in the mountains in Oregon, because you can see for so incredibly long. Is that something that is pretty accurate, Tim? You see those thunderstorms coming from about, 500 miles away?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When's the last time you saw a mountain and you weren't in your truck?
Last time I saw a mountain, no, there's no mountain.
Okay, I just had to get it from the horse's mouth there from a guy who lives out there, because that was the impression that I got, too.
Tim, did you say you have a tin roof?
It's a metal roof.
Yeah. Oh my God. So how amazing is that? So he probably can smell it coming and see it coming from far away. And then when it hits, that sound, man, you could probably record that and people would pay you to listen.
Yeah, there you go. A little bit. I would listen to that falling asleep at night. I bet that's so nice when you're falling asleep, listening to that rain ping off the roof.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah, we're speaking Tim's language now,
baby.
Amanda. Yeah, we know what he's into there. I love it.
Just like being in here.
Yep.
Trying to go to sleep and it's raining and you're like, oh man, listen to that. I agree with Tim. Just maybe it's from being in the Midwest and we got crazy ideas for things and sounds, but I just better than rain on a roof, I think.
Yeah.
Now, Wendell, coming from California, I wonder how that Iowa weather affected you coming out here. Was it a bit of an adjustment at first?
Well, from Central California, I'm not on the beach. Not too much from the beach. I was. Been out here on the road for 30 years. All my driving's been over the road. And I experienced this about all the ways you can. I spend more time on the road than I do at home. Yeah, 31 time in the year. 1 year, we figured I'd spent 90 days at home.
Wow. That's
so
wild.
I've experienced all the weather. Yeah, I've experienced all the weather out here. So I was prepared. I knew it was coming, but I wasn't really prepared when we got our first winter. luckily it wasn't so bad. I think last year snowfall was worse this year, but it's something that we're getting used to, something we expect, something we know what we have to deal with, and we just do what we got to do.
Yep, that's that Iowa in him coming out. He's only been there for a little bit, but that Iowa's already got, it's got its hooks in him for sure, doesn't it?
So I was raised in Larry, just in a different location.
Okay, I got you. That makes really good sense. Well, that actually kind of brings me to the next thing that I want to talk about here, and it kind of is going to be a subjective question for you guys. I want your opinions on it, and Polar Bear, I'll start with you here. Is trucking culture part of Iowa culture, in your opinion?
Wow, that's a good question.
That's what I do.
I know. I think I've mentioned it to you once or twice.
Yeah, once or twice, man. Polar Bear makes me feel so good about myself. I know I'm not as good at my job as what he makes me feel like I am.
Glad only words.
So
no, I believe back to what we were talking about with like agricultural and everything that we have in the Midwest. I think is where like you think of grain and animals when you think of the Midwest. You think of California, you think of nuts and fruit, and and I do believe that that's what helps us here is because of just the different businesses that need to be moved out here.
Yeah,
put it that way.
For sure. Tim.
I think I'm answering it right, but
yeah, no, I think that's a good answer.
I don't like big thinking questions.
Gotcha. We won't hit you with any math or numbers or anything like that, okay? I promise you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Tim, on to you, kind of same question, man. Do you think that trucker culture is kind of part of Iowa culture?
A little bit. I mean, we do have the world's largest truck stop.
That's true.
In Walcott,
What?
Iowa.
I didn't know
80.
that.
Go look it up right now while Tim's talking here. Search
now.
Iowa 80. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, there's whole YouTube videos about it, and that's a really good point, Tim. I didn't even think about. Please continue. I kind of cut you off there.
I mean, they've got that big truck stop, obviously the biggest, and then you got the trucker museum that's right there. So I think once you get outside, the big towns, yeah, absolutely, farming involves trucking. So
yep. Absolutely. Do you feel like those small towns out there in Iowa, there's so many of them, so many small communities, farming communities, do they have a different respect for you as a truck driver out there when you end up at those rural areas?
Oh, absolutely.
And how do you see that come through? Just kind of with the way they treat you, with the kindness, with the compassion? What is it that makes it a little bit different than maybe somebody that you run into in a giant metropolitan area?
If you're driving through Des Moines or Omaha, no, you're a pain in everybody's butt, and they're a pain in your butt. And you get out, you get out into these, smaller towns, and it just seems like everybody's a little more friendly to you.
Yeah. Yep, I hear that for sure. It's everybody's in such a hurry in the city. I feel like the speed limits is something that really kind of marries up really well with how kind to you people are. If the speed limits in the surface streets in a town are 40 miles an hour, everybody's in a hurry. Nobody has time for anybody else. Nobody's watching out for anybody else. But then all of a sudden you get out of that city and you get into one of these small communities, Amanda, and all of a sudden it's 25 and everybody's stopping when they don't have to let pedestrians cross the road. They're waving people forward at a stop sign. You go ahead, I'll wait. I just connected that in my head, but in your experience, Amanda, do you find that to be kind of the way it is out there in Ohio?
It was really difficult to transition from being a driver in Connecticut, about 45 minutes outside of New York, to driving in Ohio. I always say people in Connecticut drive like, holes, and people in Ohio drive with their heads up their holes, because they have the time for the courtesy.
Holes.
Yes. And
holes.
I get so frustrated. When somebody stops traffic to let somebody go, I get so angry. I'm like,
oh, that's the New England in you.
For a reason.
Yeah.
I'm
out
trying
there
to stop.
out there in New England, if you're going to try to be nice with somebody else's time, you might be in a street fight all of a sudden, right? That's like
sure.
that's not your business. So
Right.
I get that.
That's literally the best way I've ever heard somebody describe that mentality. Well, that's not my business.
It's true. It's true. Wendell, we'll go back to you, man. Kind of the same thing. Your take on that Iowa culture trucking culture kind of being part of Iowa culture. Do you agree with what Polar Bear and Tim have already said here?
Yeah, as far as the state goes, I think the farming is probably a little behind above, but they also know that without the trucking industry, their products will not get where it used to go.
Yep.
So we're very important to everything. As far as the nationwide pay, which goes from one coast to the other, goes right through Iowa.
Yep.
So we see all kinds of truck transportation. So it's a big part of it. We see America moving out of Iowa in the Midwest, in the heart of the United States.
Yeah, it really is.
Without the trucking industry, this country would stop, and there would be nothing that anybody could do about it.
Yep. We'd all run out of gas. We'd run out of sweets. We'd run out of corn. We'd run out of everything, man. And you guys kind of got those veins of I-80, I-35, and I-29 all crossing right through Iowa. That's so important for the trucking industry.
Yes. And like I said, the farmers and the truckers, they go hand in hand with each other because they work together. And these small towns, they realize that. I mean, you can be in a small town, you got to make a tight right turn or tight left turn. That's back off. Let you do what you got to do and keep you winning as you do it.
Dude.
Hey, we got you, no problem. That's what I like about out here. California, they don't care about you at all.
Well, it's funny. The Californians are so good at acting like they care about you while only caring about themselves. I'm looking at you, celebrities. I'm looking at you, movie stars. I'm looking at you, rock stars and athletes. It seems really compassionate until you get past the first layer and you go, oh, this is what we call self-serving kindness here.
There's no family member I have that intimidates me more than my cousin from San Francisco. Like, I can't say anything right. There's no, I feel like my existence irritates her. I don't know what it is, man.
Yep. That's because you're living life as a free person. You're having fun, and you like the not being wrapped in red tape all the time. So, and listen, I'm not.
I love to eat those people up. And crush all their dreams and their wants. And, it's something about me. And it's from living in that California state of mind and being a different type of person, being a strong conservative, being an older gentleman that I just don't take crap. They got to respect me as much as I respect them. And if they don't, they will when it's done.
I say leave, but bring the wine.
Yeah, there you go. You can bring the wine with you, but I feel like maybe, Wendell, you just described why Iowa fits you so much better. The values are different, and we can leave politics completely out of it. It's a different set of values. It's a different culture because, let's face it, we don't have a lot of people from overseas listening to this show, but for those of you that do click in from Great Britain or any European countries, I hate to tell you, but our states are as big as your countries over here. So we've got different cultures just crossing the state lines. There are different things about the places that you can be geographically in the United States, and that's really something that I wanted to home in on here. Is the culture in Iowa, and why I think, just being the fly on the wall, Amanda, why I think Iowa culture fits liquid trucking so well. This is not an easy job. This is not, we've got two guys right now who are getting loaded and unloaded in Polar Bear and Tim. And yeah, today, during this one time, the customer's taking care of it. That's not always the case. There's a lot of times, in fact, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. We wanted to do this interview yesterday, but Wendell was dealing with an unload that was so complicated that it was just running over time. And I imagine, and don't get me wrong here, nothing against the state of California. I am kind of beating it up a little bit here, but I think, a California-based driver might have been pulling his hair out. And Wendell, you were apologizing to us, and it wasn't even your fault, man.
I just, if we got a time frame, I like to keep the time frame. It bothers me as a person to not meet those time frames. I know you guys have your own time frames, and if I'm taking up the time, then it's like, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And I apologize for it.
Oh, man, it was no big deal. And here we are. The schedule's worked out perfect today. So I only bring that up just to kind of show that, it's a little kinder out here. It's a little more considerate because, as I said, completely out of Wendell's control. And you must have apologized like 4 times to. I finally had to tell you, stop apologizing. I don't feel like this is your fault. Yeah. So I get it, man. It's just a special type of person. It's a different type of person, and it happens to marry up very well with the job that drivers are doing here at Liquid Trucking. So, guys, we're going to get to our final thoughts here in just a moment, but really, I want to thank you guys for coming on.
Okay.
This is sort of a tough topic to talk about because it's like it's hard to just ask someone, hey, why are you from where you're from?
Right.
That's sometimes it's not even our fault. Like I showed up here one day in 1984. I don't know why I'm here from.
Ask my mom.
But exactly. So it's a tough one, but I appreciate you guys playing ball with us here because I know there's drivers out there listening every single week on this podcast. We 10x the number of people that work for Liquid as drivers that are actually listening to the show. And I know that's because they're thinking about coming to work here. They've already submitted the application. They want to know more. And look, face it, right now, we need some guys out of Iowa. So we greatly appreciate you guys coming on for this one. Again, not your stereotypical Liquid Trucking podcast conversation, a little bit of I don't know, Amanda. I would say abstract is the best way to put it. But these guys did a great job kind of bringing the point home. Iowa and truck drivers are kind of synonymous at this point in time. And without the great state of Iowa, all the production that comes out of it, and the awesome drivers that we get to work for Liquid Trucking, I don't know where I'd be. I can tell you this, I wouldn't have as many sweet treats over Christmas because I'd be out of corn syrup, Amanda.
I will say that is the state that people most often confuse with the one I am actually from. So I feel like we are brethren in that. And Polar Bear, by the way, he's just Uncle Polar Bear around the house now. That's who he is. We just all know Polar Bear now. So that speaks volumes about the type of person that comes from Iowa.
Absolutely.
New name? Yeah.
New name. All right, guys, final thoughts.
Thank you, though.
You're welcome.
You're going to be a family member whether you like it or not. That's just what we do here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast, Polar Bear. You knew that, though. You've been here enough.
I have, yeah. I went back and listened to my episode the other day. Everybody was off. I was still out driving. What do? I went back to the podcast and listened to 2 or 3 that I was on, especially the first one. So.
Oh, we were just babies back then.
I'm telling you, I've learned a lot since then. I haven't put any of it into play yet, but I've learned a lot.
Well, if you're learning from me, I would question every corner before you put it into play, okay? Because, I'm a gum flapper, and we know that. So you never know what's going to come out of me. But final thoughts from you, Polar Bear. Again, we appreciate the time from you today. Appreciate you talking about this great state that you've lived in for so long. What can you leave some drivers with that are thinking about coming to work for Liquid Trucking out of the state of Iowa?
This is one thing I thought of earlier that I didn't bring up in the very beginning. And what kind of one nice thing about in the Midwest, we don't have mountains like Oregon does and Arizona does and out east Pennsylvania. So that's the other nice thing. You got hills that might push it on the hill, but it's not like you got to learn how. Like when I first started driving, my very first long haul was Phoenix, Arizona from Iowa.
Wow.
So I got to do I-17 out of Flagstaff. Back to farming, you might have I might pull 3 wagons from the field up to the farm. Well, you go down a hill and it's no different than anything. The momentum is going to maybe overpower you. So you got to be ready on the brake so that's kind of the thing. If you're just starting out or learning or not very good at the mountains, you get a feel for pulling and driving and stopping and traffic and back to Amanda's. If I have one city I absolutely hate is Atlanta, and one state I absolutely hate is Connecticut. I used to go to Rhode Island every week, and I loved the trip till I got, and I even took it for I-84 to 95. So I was in Connecticut less.
Great stuff there. And Amanda didn't take that personally
No.
at all, what you just said about
I'm actually
Connecticut.
feeling much more connected.
Awesome stuff, Polar Bear. We always appreciate the time. You know, you're welcome back here anytime, like all of you liquid drivers are. Wendell Walker, thank you so much for the time today, my friend. We're really glad that we got you on here. What can you leave some drivers with? If I'm a driver sitting in Iowa right now, twiddling my thumbs and thinking liquid's the spot, what are you going to tell me?
Well, as a recruiting episode, there's no problem to say. You're not going to blow smoke up your butt, tell you one thing and do another. If you need to get home, they're going to get you home. If you need to get home at the last minute, they're going to do their best. They treat you very well over here. It's a great company. Out of the 30 years, probably one of the best companies I've been at so far. So, I mean, for sure, if it's for you, sometimes it's not, but you'll never know unless you try.
Absolutely. That's a sage advice right there. And that's saying something, too, with 30 years of experience to say this is one of the best companies you've been at, Wendell. And they will treat you right. I know that because I hear drivers say it all the time, Amanda. And also, we sit in a meeting with some of these guys once a week to talk about this podcast, and they're great people. They treat us very well, too. Well said, Wendell. You'll never know unless you try, and liquid's not going to blow a bunch of smoke up your butt. Those are two things I want you to take away from what Wendell just said there. Wendell Walker, we appreciate the time as always, my friend. Thanks for making the appearance today. Let's wrap this up with final thoughts from Tim Spencer. Tim, tell me what you know. Tell me what I should know if I'm an Iowa driver thinking that liquid might be the spot, my friend.
You know, like the term been stated, it's good pay. Iowa, Omaha, right on the Iowa border. Pay's great, location's great, and like you've heard so many other people before, we're all pretty happy to work here.
Yep. And you got loads. You're moving right now. You guys are not slowing down at all in this current climate, correct?
No, it definitely does not seem like it. No, they've always got something for us to do.
Yep, always. Well, Polar Bear, Tim, and Wendell, you guys did awesome today. I don't know how we're not going to get flooded with applications from Iowa after hearing from you guys today. Thank you so much for coming on here and playing ball with Amanda and I. Like I said, a little bit of a different episode from what you might be used to, but I think very valuable for some people coming to work or thinking about coming to work here at Liquid Trucking. You guys all be dang safe out there. And I'm going to say this to you, even though people won't hear this for a couple of weeks. I think this episode launches maybe first week of June. We are recording this right before the long Memorial Day weekend, so I want to tell you guys, have a safe Memorial Day weekend, whether you're going to be working or whether you're going to be out playing this week, okay? And just take care of yourselves, all right?
Thanks, Marcus. Yeah. I'm going to say the same thing, too, but it's going to be over.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Just like when you went back and listened to your first episode, we can peek back into the past on this episode or on this podcast. That's one of the best things about it. Thanks, fellas. We'll get you on here again soon, okay? All right, a very important segment, a special segment here on our episode for our drivers out of Iowa. It's open enrollment, and we have to talk about that when it happens because it's a short window, Amanda. And today we've brought in the only guy to have for this segment because he knows all this stuff like the back of his hand, and that's VP of HR and Safety, Jason Eisenman. Jason, we love our time with you, but today we've got some serious business to get to, so let's jump right in.
Yes, let's do. You know, a lot of people call this like the unfun time of the year because you got to mess with your employee benefits, but it's also, a challenging time for us because we got to get the message out to all 300 plus employees, and then that message has to go home to the families if you're married or you have kids. So there's kind of a big message to get out that, hey, number one, it's actually happening now, so people know that it's happening. And then get them all the right information to be able to make the best decisions. So we worked really hard on the the communication that we're putting out in videos and texts and things that we're offering. And we're actually, about halfway through it. So when this is airing today, you would have been getting bombarded for probably the last week and a half, but you still have time to go because you have all the way till the 12th still.
That's good. A little bit of leeway in there. I think if I remember correctly, last year we were more towards the tail end of open enrollment when we did this segment. So I'm glad that we're able to get this out a little bit earlier, Jason. You talk about kind of bombarding the employees with that information. I feel like that's something that's so necessary because you need communication from everybody. Like you said, all the employees at Liquid Trucking, if I'm not mistaken, right? This is something that even if somebody doesn't want to change anything, they still need to do something this year?
Yes, this is one of those action required years where you are required to take action, whether that's going online to paycor.com and doing it yourself, or we have a call center, and the call center is located right in Dubuque, Iowa. They are 4 or 5 well-trained benefit specialists that we've previously met with and interviewed and trained on all of our benefits. So you don't just have to rely on Troy or myself or paycor.com. You have some really talented people that work in trucking and trucking benefits to call, and all of those numbers are on the communication that we're sending out, both in writing and in the videos. So kind of got your pick of the flavor flav, if you will. And, if you need help, call. If you don't need help and you can whiz through it online, do that too. I'll pause right there in case you have any questions, then we'll start hitting some of the highlights.
I think that he's explained it pretty well for me. Amanda, I'll kick it over to you. Do you have any questions so far for Jason before he starts to get to the so-called highlights of this exciting time?
You might end up covering this here in a few, but I'll say on my morning walk today, I noticed a bumper sticker on a neighbor's car I'd never noticed before, and it said, "Proud Trucker Wife." And I know a huge part of families being able to work together and have, dad of the house out on the road and providing for the family. It's a team effort. So when it comes to open enrollment and maybe, wife is at home and she's the one who usually handles these kinds of things. Say wife has a question. Is there a resource available for your spouse that's helping you manage this stuff? 2.5 weeks of open enrollment, you're on the road, you're busy, you might need that hand at home. How would that work?
Yes, so a couple of ways, because we work with a lot of spouses, and some spouses are like, they want to ask questions, or they just want like, hey, where is the information? I didn't actually get the information at home. So if we send them the link to the webpage with everything and the video and everything, sometimes they're like, oh, perfect, that's all I needed. And other times they're like even more confused, because benefits is like trying to, it's like trying to interpret the stock market. If it's terrible. And the health care in America today is in horrible reform and shape. So I understand that everybody gets confused and frustrated, and this definitely is, one of the harder, more challenging times of the year for people to make good, informed decisions. So yeah, you should call, email, text, read, all the stuff. The only bad question is if you just don't ask somebody, because we'll get it, we'll get it to you, or we'll get you on the phone with a counselor or whatever it takes.
That's great. Little known fact here, just in case you guys aren't grunge fans, that song Misery by Soul Asylum, largely known to the general public as Frustrated Incorporated, was actually written about open enrollments periods. So I know it goes way back to the mid-'90s, but believe it or not, these guys were ahead of their time. So all jokes aside, though, Jason, let's get into the real meat of it here. Dive in. Let us know the most important points that you want to get across today on our episode.
Yeah, let's start with the bad news, right? Medical insurance, it's expensive. One thing that we're proud of is we haven't had to raise the rates since 2017.
Wow.
And a little known fact, in 2017, looking back at all of that information, because it's been a few minutes, right? 2017's been a while.
Yeah.
That year, we actually raised the single rate from 32 to 35, but dropped the family from 160 to 150 per week.
Wow.
And this year, 2026, almost 9 years later, we finally had to raise the rates. And I won't cover them all here, but as an example, single coverage goes from $35 to $40 a week. So a $5 a week increase. I think family coverage went from $150 to $160 again, but definitely click the link, watch the video. We cover all the different levels of changes, but they're pretty small changes considering how much time has passed and what's happening in America in healthcare costs. So good job to everybody being good consumers and smart shoppers and with your healthcare here at Liquid Trucking. And proud of everybody for being able to keep those rates in place for as long as we have. So stopping on just the medical changes, it's just a rate increase. All the other structures of it remain in place, but the next part of the plan that changes is the deductibles increase. So there's some real out-of-pocket money that we realize that we're asking the employees to pay more, and we don't take that lightly. You stress that a lot, but all of our insurance partners were beating down the door telling us, you guys are too low. You're undercharging. It's costing you too much money, etc. So we had to move the needle a little. That single deductible went from $2,500 to $3,000, and there's more changes. So I just want to reiterate, getting everybody back to that video to watch it and read all those changes on the medical coverage in more detail.
Yeah, it's, it is a bummer, but let's face it, 9 years with no rate increases, that's got to be, Hall of Fame type numbers, Jason, with the way that the world has moved in those last 9 years. And I know that, again, we talk about frustrations that might come up for this stuff. You guys are more than willing to explain it. That video does a great job. I know that for sure. So definitely track that down. That obviously has been sent to you time and again at this point, right, Jason?
Yeah, it's coming out in the text messages that we communicate to the employees every day. It's going out in the Paycor news section, so you can get the same message whether you're in Paycor checking your check stub or maybe enrolling in benefits by selecting the My Benefits section. Or, that text message, you click that link, it takes you to a web page. And on that web page, it has a lot of information. But that's why we put it all in one place so that you can take the time, read through it, click, watch, make sure the wife gets it. Even if you have some older kids, so, the way that medical insurance works, you have your dependents on there up to the age of 26. So if you've got a 24-year-old who's out working on their own, and they're on your health plan, at 24, if they're working somewhere, they might have access to, health insurance, and then they might have access to even better health insurance. Who knows, because every company's size kind of dictates the type of coverage you can buy for your folks.
Right.
And, so your son or daughter might have access to even a better benefit for less money or equal money. And that might save you and your child some money. I'll give you a quick example. If you're paying for your, employee plus children, and I think it's, don't quote me on this, but maybe $140 a week. Well, you drop to $40 a week if you just cover yourself, and your child goes and enrolls in benefits at their place of employment. That might only be $35, $40 a week. You've now covered you both for less every week. So those are things to look at. And that's why it'd be important, for anybody that's on your health plan, that's not a minor, an adult child with access to benefits, they might have some great stuff to compete with ours and save you both money. So share that information on that webpage with all those folks.
Yeah, it's always worth a look. That's one thing about open enrollment that even though, it's a short window and it feels like everybody's scrambling, it is nice that every year it comes around and there's a chance to make those changes without incurring any penalties or without having gaps in coverage because, life happens and you never know when it's going to happen, except for open enrollment most years. I guess that's one thing we can put a pin in and know that it's coming, but Jason, are you ready for us to get to questions for you, or did you have anything else before Amanda and I act like truck driving employees here and pepper you with some questions?
Yes, let's talk about what we call our ancillary benefits.
Okay.
Ancillary benefits are, your company provided life insurance. So every employee that's full-time has $20,000 life insurance policy paid for by the company. Your short-term disability coverage. Every full-time benefit eligible employee is covered already because that is a benefit that we offer and pay for you. And then in addition to that, you got your long-term disability, your hospital, your accident, your critical illness, your employee assistance program. All of those benefits, that vendor was provided through Sun Life, and we are moving those benefits to another provider called Mutual of Omaha. And a couple of the reasons we did that are we could get our employees more short-term disability money. So one of the big changes is if you're off work because you're sick or ill, or you break a bone or something and you can't come to work for 7 or 8 weeks, short-term disability pays you 60% of your earnings for up to 12 weeks while you're off. And as an employer paid benefit, that means you kind of have what we call the keep your lights on policy while you can't come to work for personal reasons. And the cool part is that benefit used to be maxed out at $1,000 per week, but now by moving to Mutual of Omaha, we got that up to $1,500 per week, per se, if your income was 60%, so for the higher earners to be 60%, to get over that 1,000, they never could, but now they could. They could get up to 1,500 if their 60% equaled up to 1,500. So I hope that makes sense. Another cool thing by moving to Mutual of Omaha on the life insurance is our employees, like I mentioned, always get the $20,000 of coverage for free, but you could purchase up to $130,000 additional at Sun Life for a total of $150,000 as a guaranteed issue with no questions asked. So that was great at the time, but now I'm moving to Mutual of Omaha. We got that $130,000 moved all the way up to $200,000.
Wow.
Which means you could get a total of $220,000 of life insurance, no questions asked, just guarantee issue. You can continue to buy above that. Obviously, the prices go up, but then you also have to go through that health screening. So I'll pause there for a second. Those are the biggest changes, moving those benefits from Sun Life to Mutual of Omaha on the life and short term. Any questions on that real quick?
I don't. I think you did a good job explaining it. I will tell you, big Mutual of Omaha fans in the Bridges household. My dad has worked with Mutual of Omaha as an underwriter for years, and now my sister owns his company and is also working with Mutual of Omaha. Lots of good coverage there, Jason, and great news that some of those numbers have moved up because, you talked already about the bad news, a little bit of a rate increase, but also with the ancillary benefits, there is improvements to the benefits on the back end of that. And so especially with the stuff that is company provided, like the life insurance, definitely look into that. You never know when you might want to just tick up that coverage. Sometimes that stuff can be surprisingly affordable as well. So definitely want to get in there and knock around a little bit like it's your project car on the weekends and just see if there's any screws that need turning, Jason.
100%. That's why we do this. A lot of times people's address changes. This is a great time to make sure you have beneficiaries listed on all the coverages that are appropriate, or update them if you've had some listed previously and you've had more kids. Maybe you want to add a dependent. Or change the percentages between dependents. This is a great time to get in there and check the oil and all that stuff too while we're talking about under the hood. Moving into the next change that involves Mutual of Omaha is our vision coverage. Vision coverage was previously with IMED, and IMED did a great job. But Mutual of Omaha provides the IMED network kind of in a partnership with them. That might be official or unofficial, I'm not sure. But basically, we are now providing our vision coverage through Mutual of Omaha, using the same IMED network. And the reason we did that is we were able to lower the weekly rate by it not be as much as we'd like. It is small changes at every level. Again, you can get those actual changes in the benefit video that we have out there at the link we've mentioned. But there's a bunch of other small enhancements as well inside the actual vision coverage in terms of, reduced copays, better benefits on frames and lenses and all those copays. There's too many to mention without just going to the link and kind of poking through that vision coverage. So overall, a good change, we hope, for vision by swinging that into Mutual of Omaha using the same iMed network that we're used to. So if you had an iMed account set up and you were a vision user, once you get enrolled past July 1st and the new benefits take effect, you'll want to get an account set up at the Mutual of Omaha website to access those same, but yet now better, slightly cheaper vision benefits.
That's great.
That's
Amanda
funny.
and I were just, we were just
That's what I was
talking
gonna
about
say.
vision before you got in here and talking about how both of us are struggling with, old person onset blindness in
Yes.
our 40s is what we found. We both need a checkup, so definitely good stuff there. Take advantage of that because vision as a truck driver, pretty A1 important thing to be keeping an eye on there, Jason, if I am, pun intended type stuff.
No, it is one of the toughest ones to what we call make more benefit rich. So while we weren't able to move the needle like landslides here, both on dropping the rate and providing more benefit, we felt that by taking a reduced rate for our employees and having enough increases in multiple sections of the coverage, we were like, this kind of makes it a no-brainer because we still get to use the same great network through iMed, through their partnership. With just a little less cost and a few extra things. So that was kind of a win for us there.
Absolutely.
Some switching gears a little to dental. No change in dental on anything. Just letting that bean footage roll on this year. Kind of a don't break it, don't fix it. Couldn't get anything better yet. But Emeritus does a good job. We did make some changes a couple years ago to the dental. So we'll keep looking at that year over year and see what's out there. But this year, nothing changes in dental on either the cost or the benefits themselves.
Sounds good. What else for changes before we get to our questions here?
Yeah, I think that covers the highlights. The video that we made, though, I can't encourage everybody enough to find that link and watch that video, because we did put a lot of effort into it, and it covers everything in exact details of the changes that I've talked about here in kind of a summary fashion.
Okay. Well, Amanda and I are just going to act like employees here, and I've got a couple of questions for you. The first one, it's a bit of an open enrollment question, Jason, but I also think it covers some of the rest of the year as well. My question has to do with qualifying events. I want to look at this from a driver who has big things on the horizon, but they haven't happened yet. I'm talking about maybe a wife that's 4 months pregnant right now, maybe a girlfriend that's 4 months pregnant that you intend on marrying after the baby comes along. These things are qualifying events to make changes if you need to. Can you talk a little bit about some of the qualifying events that might happen during the course of the year after open enrollment closes that drivers can take advantage of to make changes if they have to beyond that? The only reason that I asked that this year is because last year we discussed that in the past tense. We said, hey, if this stuff happened to you, know that next year. This time I want us to frame it as, if you're already looking at this stuff happening in the future, how should you go about preparing to mess with your benefits if this stuff doesn't happen before open enrollment closes, Jason?
It's a great question. And qualifying like events, known as QLEs, are a great way to make changes outside of open enrollment, because open enrollment gives everybody that flexibility to make any change. But life happens 50 other weeks out of the year. In this case, open enrollment's 3 weeks, but so 49 other weeks of the year. If you did like quick Google search for qualifying life enrollment or QLEs events, that would be a good start, because if you just Google it and look up the QLEs, that the federal government recognizes that you could take a look at each type in summary pretty quick. And if you have something going on, maybe baby's going to be born in September, well then as soon as baby's born, you notify us, you get the Social Security card, you got 30 days to get baby on the health plan. Maybe you get married in February or something, and now you have a spouse. Bring in that marriage certificate, and, we can get the spouse added, provided that on our health plan, the spouse doesn't have health coverage offered at their full-time job, because our health plan has something that's called a spousal carve-out. So if your spouse has benefits available to them at their job, then they have to take their benefits.
Copy.
But and there's many others. There's probably too many to cover here, but the most important thing is if you find yourself at a point in the year outside of open enrollment, in a pickle in life, like if this is happening or that's going to happen, or I'm not quite sure, a good way to get that question out there is send us an email, benefits@liquidtrucking.com, or pick up the phone and call me. But if you got something happening, just get the question out there. Describe what's going on, and we'll tell you now during open enrollment. Yes, there's a path to get you there outside of open enrollment. Feel free to, not have to feel like you're forced to do it now. Or we could, tell you the bad news, like, that isn't going to have a qualifying life event.
Right.
We probably ought to talk about what you should do now.
Yeah. I think the point here, the resources are available, and now's the time to get these questions answered, because they're front of mind for everybody that's working on them. And you've got that call center resource that we talked about. We'll hit that email address again, benefits@liquidtrucking.com. These are all places that you can get your questions answered. And of course, our guy Jason here, he's available too. So use those resources, because it's important that you get all the information you need. This is very important stuff. We wouldn't carve out a half an hour on the podcast for it if it wasn't. So let's kick it over to Amanda, who I know has been hard at work coming up with questions. Now, Amanda, I'm not sure how many times the word problem shows up in your employee file, but I want you to act like it's there a lot, and hit Jason with any questions you might have.
Listen, Jason, I think my ultimate question is one that I don't necessarily expect a happy answer to, but say I'm a liquid driver. I've already been enrolled in all the things that are offered to me previously, and for some reason, I just don't contact you guys. I don't make any changes. I don't get a hold of anyone for the open enrollment period. What is going to happen to me?
If you don't take action in what we call an active enrollment, your benefits won't continue past July 1st, 2026. And we only, as a company, we only do this like active forced enrollment, every 2 to 4 years, because in the other years, we kind of just, what we do, a passive enrollment. We let the benefits kind of roll on. But like any ball rolling down a hill, the snowball just keeps collecting more snow and it gets bigger. So if you don't do this every so often and you have problems inside there, like beneficiaries aren't accurate, addresses, you didn't get a baby added in the plan, all these problems start to compound and they get bigger. And then when something in life happens and you need the benefits, and things aren't accurate and up to date, and you haven't taken a chance to look at how you're protecting your family, then it's even worse. So we apologize that we force everybody to do this, but it is definitely needed to make sure that everyone is covered correctly and take a look at that stuff. So when it's needed, they have what they actually need and it's accurate.
It may feel like a pain to go and re-enroll and do all your stuff, but probably not more of a pain than handing your insurance card over if you're in the ER July 2nd and they say, hey, I got bad news for you. So worth taking the time.
Yeah, and let me give you a quick example of the way that these benefits counselors are set up to talk with you. When you call in, they have a screen right in front of them. They're going to look up your name, and they can see your current elections. And there's just a little button that says, they're going to go over it, So John Smith, you have family medical. Here's your dependents on the plan. Any changes, any new babies, spouses, all that stuff? No. Okay. They're going to hit the button that says keep my election. And then they're going to, they're going to move to the next one, so whether that's dental or vision, they're going to hit the button to keep it or change it. So
Right. Point is, these people at the call center, their only job is to get you through this kind of, I won't say effort-free. You still have to put in the effort. You still have to make the call. But they are so well-trained, and this is their job every day. They don't expect you to be the expert. You've got an expert on the line that can hold your hand and walk you through it. And I'll tell you, Jason, if you could set up a few of these call centers for other aspects of my life, like motivation to do chores and exercise, things like that, I could really use it because I have experience with a call center like this in my own personal life with open enrollment. And I will tell you that it was always something that I went, I don't need a call center. I'll take care of it myself, until I used a call center. And then I thought, I'll never not use that if it's an option again. So just a little personal experience from me there, Jason. Use these resources. They're available to you. We know the job that you guys do it takes a lot of hours. It's stressful. You're out there kind of isolated. Sometimes this stuff finds the back burner, and rightfully so. But all you got to do is make that one effort, and everything's out there for you. Not only do we have the half hour here on the podcast, that video, and all the rest of the info that's been coming from the management there at Liquid. It's really important stuff, and it doesn't have to weigh on you for very long. The sooner that you take care of it, the better you'll feel on the back end, right, Jason?
Yep. I think that this podcast hopefully gets it out to other folks, and other folks are catching it through the text or Paycor. But however you're getting it, we're just walking in here and talk to us. If you're at the terminal, please do so. Ask the questions, talk to us. That's what we're asking for.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Don't forget to watch that video, and remember that you can send an email to benefits@liquidtrucking.com with your questions. Take advantage of the call center. Jason, I know that sometimes we get to have a lot of fun. Today, we were serious the whole time, and I think we got a lot of really good information out there. We appreciate your time today. Thanks for jumping in here and catching us up with open enrollment.
100%. Appreciate you guys. Everyone listening, appreciate you guys, and roll on.
Great stuff from our Iowa drivers there, Amanda. Salt of the earth people is the way that I really could say it, and some of the nicest people you'll ever meet out of the state of Iowa. And I'm not just trying to pat you on the back here. I did not have any experience out in the Midwest before I started doing this podcast and working with Liquid Trucking, and I have a ton of it now. I've been out there 4 times since we started this podcast a couple years ago. And, just amazing group of people from start to finish out there. I really can't wait for you to get out there and experience it from a Liquid Trucking perspective now that you're so well acquainted with all these guys.
Oh, definitely. First of all, I'm blessed to be in the Midwest. So that kind of heart and mentality, I think, is kind of across the board out here. So I'm very grateful for that. But I think that's also why I'm so quick to get along with someone like Polar Bear, right? I also notice at least 2 of the 3, I know we didn't ask the other, are military veterans. And I think that type of person also meshes well with the Midwest, which obviously also meshes well with Liquid. But as far as being in Iowa and working for Liquid, they made it so clear that the biggest thing across the board is location, location, location. Not only do they keep you busy, but they kept reiterating they get you home, which I think is so important, especially when you, as we already stated, have those kind of values. Wanting to be around your family is probably a pretty big, important thing to you.
100%. And let's not forget here, we see that Liquid Trucking is based out of Plattsmouth, Nebraska. And I know if you're anything like me, you just hear the name of a city and a state, and you think about the state as a whole. You don't really think about where that city might be geographically located within the state. But Plattsmouth, you heard the guy say it, it's right on the border of Iowa. If you're in western Iowa, you can get right there to Plattsmouth and probably haul out of the Plattsmouth terminal super easily. Lots of loads, always getting home when you want to get home. And this is all coming from them. I'm just repeating things that they're saying here. And then we've got, Bartow out in South Sioux City as well. So if maybe getting all the way to western Iowa isn't as feasible for you, you might be able to pick up some loads and some work out of Bartow. And let me tell you, the guys from Bartow, they have some fun, okay? That's where Polar Bear Hall's out of, and we've had terminal manager Chris Baltushis on the show before. We've had Corey Lyles on the show. Angie was on the show before. These are the people that tinfoil wrapped Chris's entire office for his 50th birthday.
That was amazing.
they're having some fun out there in Bartow, but the other thing they're doing is a damn good job, and they're busy. There's loads, and that's the most important part. I know that the most important thing truck drivers are looking for, one, home time, like you said, and two, how's the money? How am I gonna be able to earn the amount that I need to earn to support my family? And you just heard it from 3 drivers. They're the ones telling you, not me. Yeah, they're doing fine. Obviously, 2 of them have been here for right around 20 or more than 20 years. And Wendell, though he hasn't been here for a super long time, just told you this is one of the best companies he's worked for across 30 years in trucking. And something else, because I didn't get through all of my fun Iowa facts in the intro. This one actually is much more practical compared to some of the other stuff that we've been talking about. Iowa just recently approved a $4.3 billion infrastructure plan that is heavily focused on roads and bridges.
Ooh.
If that doesn't tell you that Iowa is a great place to work in the transport industry out of, I don't know what does. That kind of infrastructure with all of the veins running right there into that great state, it's a haven for trucking. And did you look up Iowa 80?
I did. That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, it looks insane. And then I looked up the museum, also really cool. So I was thinking about it, okay? Because the way that you asked them, do you think that trucking culture and Iowa culture are kind of like intertwined? And I feel like a lot of times we think about where the trucks maybe are going or what they have, but we don't necessarily think about where do the drivers come from, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that if you are not from Ohio, if you're not from Iowa, you might not make that connection. But I think if you're from Iowa, you most definitely are putting those two together. And I clearly need to make a road trip because I need to go there. It looks like a huge Buc-ee's. They have, dude. They have a semi inside of this truck stop that you almost don't notice because the truck stop's so large. That's how big it is. It's insane. Yep.
Oh, and every single truck driver knows about it, too. If you're an over-the-road trucker and you've gotten through the Midwest, you have come by Iowa 80, and, I mean, everything. They got a theater in there. They got a barber shop. I could stop at Iowa 80 and get the beard lined up and look really good by the time I got to Nebraska, Amanda. So,
stop it.
It's just a really cool thing, and you're right. I really think that I imagine if I was a kid growing up in Iowa that when I finally figured out that was there, that would be one of those things where like, hey, Mom and Dad, if we're driving by it, can we please stop? Because I want to go look at the truck museum. I want to go see all the stuff that they've got there. It's more of an attraction, and you'd think, wait, they built an attraction around truck driving? Yeah, and it's really cool. If you haven't been there, at least do like Amanda did and go look it up, because I can't remember the guy's name, and I feel bad now because he did such a great job, but he and his wife just kind of go and tour truck stops all around the country. It's kind of what they do on their YouTube channel. And there's like a 25-minute video or something like that where they're going through all the things that are there. What would you think you could put on a 25-minute video about a truck stop, all right? We've all seen them. No offense to Loves, they're great, but we're not going to most of our local Loves and getting 25 minutes of content. That's all I'm saying. Unless you spent an extra amount of time in the parking lot late at night. You might get your content there.
That's what I was going to say.
You might. It's very possible, but... all jokes aside, you got to go check out Iowa 80, and you got to come work for Liquid Trucking if you're out there in Iowa. It's a great spot to work. You just heard from 3 drivers. There's nothing about this company as far as, especially right now with where the freight market is, there's nothing about Liquid that's not worth at least checking out. Call my guy Jake and have a conversation with him. Call my guy Nick, have a conversation with him. Those guys know a lot about what's going on here, way more than what Amanda and I do. We're just the fortunate ones that get to talk to everybody. But if you've got questions, they've got answers. Liquidtrucking.com is the website. You want to stop by over there and get in touch with those guys, because we're looking for drivers from Iowa right now, and we know that you're listening to this. So get on board, come over, work for the great company, and hey, make your first appearance on the Liquid Trucking Podcast. That's kind of the cadence of things, Amanda. We get our hooks into them early if they let us.
Yes, unless you're a Steelers fan. I don't want to talk to you. No, I'm just kidding.
Man, it's like it's spring and I can already feel football in the air, and that's really bad for a guy that's obsessed with it like me.
Sir, football is never over. Football is 365 days a year, and especially with both of us coming from radio, we know that. That's the one sport people always want to talk about, and I think that is the biggest rivalry-causing sport in the United States.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you just took a whole city's worth of people and said you didn't want to talk to them. I think that puts the rivalry in perspective for everybody. So it's been a fun episode today, a sort of a different one, like I've said a couple of times here, but I think it was a really cool episode. And again, I don't know how we couldn't have offered you answers to all the questions that you need, but if you have some technical questions, you want to know a little bit more information about the job, again, liquidtrucking.com is where you want to go to get more information and get in touch with the company. Amanda, it's been real, but we got to get out of here today. So you know what? I'm sick of saying the line. You say the line again. It's your turn.
All right, be safe out there and keep the shiny side up.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
Interested in finding out more about what it takes to bring a podcast like the Liquid Trucking Podcast to your fleet? Bulldog provides tailor-made top-to-bottom podcast production services. We'll meet your terminal staff, connect with your drivers, and bring you the content you want your drivers to hear. Type bulldog.works into your browser to connect with us and learn more about what we can do for your fleet. That's bulldog.works for podcasts, tenacious recruiting, and more.